Hello, loves, and welcome to Tea Time with Monica. Today's guest is Kellee Stewart. Kellee Stewart is an actress and writer. You guys may have seen her in Guess Who, Bernie Mac. And so, hey, yes. And she is a self-proclaimed egg advocate. Now, she is the creator and host of Warrior Wednesdays, which is an interactive live Instagram show featuring truthful and empowering stories of infertility told from Black women, the Black women's experience, which we all need because we know what it is like to be a Black woman in a doctor's office if you don't have someone that looks like you and understands what goes on with Black women or Black men in the doctor's office. Now, in each episode, Kellee welcomes a special warrior guest for an in-depth, raw conversation tackling topics such as fibroids, which you all know I've expressed that I've dealt with, endometriosis, internal bias, and inequities. Welcome, Kellee.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Monica. I
Yeah.
appreciate this. I appreciate your beautiful platform. And I'm so excited to talk with you. You're amazing. What you're doing is amazing and needed. And I'm honored and I'm blessed to be a part of it. So thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you so much. Now, I'm going to say this before we get started. Now, I met Kellee because most of you know that I sit on the board for the White Dress Project, and we contacted her to host our Night in White virtual gala, which she will be the host of. So you guys look out for tickets coming up for that. The event is going to be on Thursday, July 15th, virtually, and we just can't wait to have you. We're so thankful.
I'm so excited. It's such great work that everybody is doing there, and I'm honored to be able to host, to be more in the community itself, and it's going to be a fun night. We're going to get some information out there. We're going to love on each other. We're going to heal. It's going to be epic for all women. So I'll be there.
Yes, yes. Well, let's get started. And I want to begin with this quote. You've been assigned this mountain to show others it can be moved. Now, how does this quote speak to you and the work you do with Warrior Wednesdays?
I have been assigned this mountain. And a mountain it certainly is. I did not think that I would reach my 40s single and childless. That was not a mountain that I knew was ahead of me, that I wanted to be ahead of me, or that I even wanted to attempt to climb and deal with. I froze my eggs when I was 37 years old. And God was kind in that experience, in that I was able to retrieve 29 eggs that were successfully frozen. And several years passed after that where I still wasn't in the right relationship or even in the right time in my life to start a family. And I started to panic because, like I said, I was 37 and now I was like entering my 40s and beyond that. And in that panic moment, I just heard God tell me, call the doctor and ask the questions that you didn't ask. And so I called them and I said, listen, when you go to the grocery store and you buy eggs, there's a sell by date, so before they spoil. So is there a fertilized by date for my frozen eggs? Because I'm panicking here. And what they said to me is, no, the science is different. You're fine. But don't worry. A lot of women call here panicking. And when I heard that, I immediately knew how unfair it was. I immediately was angered by it. I immediately was hurt by it, that women are put in a position of having to panic before they learn anything about their fertility. And I knew at that moment that this was less about my eggs and that this mountain was about all women, especially women that look like me, that are not proactive about their fertility health. I wanted to avoid the panic and create the power. And so
Warrior Wednesdays. I love that you said I wanted to avoid the panic and create the power, because a lot of times once you find out that there's some reason that you won't be a mother, if that's what you have wholeheartedly wanted to do your whole life, you feel powerless. And I feel personally connected to that because I'm coming up on my 40th birthday, single, no kids, always thought that I'd be in that position as well. So I'm holding back tears because I am right where you are. And unfortunately, I did not have the finances to freeze. I haven't had the finances to freeze my eggs. My doctor suggested it. And when I looked at the price, I said, ma'am, if I can pay for that, I can pay off my student loans.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was up against at the time.
Right there. Okay, well, I'm going to stop you right there. And the reason I'm going to say that is because you are speaking for a lot of women and even men that love a woman that might be in a position to freeze her eggs. You're speaking for a lot of people that don't have the finances at that moment. Mm-hmm. And can you hear that?
No, I can't.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Hey, look, y'all, it's Zoom, and you know some things happen.
There's a lot of noise outside. I just want to make sure. Here's what I want to say to that, because it is such a universal issue, and what I have learned is I went back and I thought about how many baby showers do I get invited to a year? Probably about 2 or 3, spending about $150 on somebody else's choice to become a parent in celebration of that. I thought about how many first birthday parties do I go to for those kids, second birthdays, and all of those things. We do not celebrate people that are on the journey of assisted reproduction. And so what I say to women that are in a position where they want to freeze their eggs or do IVF and finances is an issue, throw yourself an egg shower.
Now, see, I was listening to one of your recordings and I was like, what is this egg shower business? Because that sounds interesting. Never thought of that.
It's the same thing as a baby shower, except you are going to register at paypal.com or venmo.com and invite people that you love to contribute to your choices to preserve your fertility. Because what we do is we don't shower people with all of these gifts and attention and celebration until they get the thing, until they're in their 8th or 9th month. But what happens to the women and men that are going through their 3rd round of IVF? Don't they deserve our support and our love and our celebration?
Yeah,
what happens to the single woman? Exactly. That is choosing to freeze her eggs because she wants to continue her education or travel more. Doesn't she deserve a party and a celebration that is filled with support for those choices? It shouldn't just be about having the baby in the belly. What happens to the adoptive parent, the foster parent? We need to start normalizing the different ways that people create families and how we contribute and support that. So throw yourself an egg shower.
I love that advice because you don't think about that. All we think about is the village once the child is here, you know, and I'm part of that village for my sister. I have 2 beautiful nieces who are teenagers, and I've been the most supportive aunt I could because I love kids and I love my nieces. They're my babies, and I'm a godparent. I have a godson on the way. Can't wait. So, you know, kind of even before hearing you talking about the egg shower, that was how I thought about it. Like, well, I'm a mother in different ways, you know, just trying to live with the reality of not having a child myself. But that is very good advice for someone that's in my position or any position where they're thinking about their fertility.
Well, yes, because it's one of the reasons that we suffer in silence and that we feel so isolated is because we don't put out there what we are going through, and then we don't ask for the support that we so deserve and that we so easily give to other people. It's just, it hasn't been normalized yet. So it is kind of on us to say, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me that I'm single. There's nothing wrong with me that I don't have a child yet. We live in a day and age where, thank God, the science is there to help assist. There are no guarantees, and we know that, but there are many options to parenthood, like being a godmother, an adoptive parent, a foster mother, using donor eggs, IVF, IUI, frozen eggs. I mean, the list goes on and on. So why shouldn't those routes also be celebrated and normalized so that we don't have to be alone in this thing and feel like, you know, my body's failing me or my life isn't where it should be right now because I'm comparing it to you. No, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
I love that because, you know, I think going through that, any woman, whether it's you have, one of the reproductive health issues like fibroids, endometriosis, or PCOS, or, any unexplained reason as to why you haven't had a child when you're trying, or you want that. It's like you feel alone, you feel undesired, you don't feel sexy sometimes. It's just like, what is going on with me in my body or in my life that I'm not attracting what I so wholeheartedly have wanted my whole life?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very, it's a lot to wrap our brains around, but I think that this is where purpose is born, right? The question that you started with was, I've been assigned this mountain, and how do I use this mountain with Warrior Wednesdays? Well, if I wasn't assigned a life of being 40, single, without having a child, then I wouldn't have Warrior Wednesdays, which means that I wouldn't have surrounded myself with a community of some of the most powerful, amazing, beautiful, strong women and men that are now an intricate part of my journey and my life. Their stories empower me, they inform me, they allow me to know that I am in a very big club. This was not as isolating as I actually thought it was.
Right.
But the pain is where the purpose was found. And the power is where we eliminate the panic. So if I can empower people with ovaries or people with sperm that may want to have a child one day, even if they're not sure, if I can empower them to be proactive about their fertility health, get their AMH levels checked, their FSH levels checked,
okay,
at any age.
You are dropping a lot of knowledge, so we're gonna have to get to that stuff too. You talked about like the IUI, the IVF, all the things, and we're gonna have to talk about this.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So let's talk about the process of freezing eggs, cost, storage, treatments, all that type of stuff.
Okay, perfect. So we talked about the egg showers, and that is a way that people can throw themselves a party to get some more finances towards that. For me, at the time that I froze my eggs, it was around $14,000. Now, I will give another tip of the way that I financed it in my life. In that particular time, I was getting a lot of, mail advertising new credit cards. You want a Citibank card, you want a Chase card, and a lot of times we throw those out. Well, I called all of them to see what was the limit that they were offering me. And I chose the biggest one, and I put my entire egg freeze on that credit card, on that new credit card. Where there's a will, there is a way. And the process of it. So basically, freezing your eggs it's essentially IVF. Okay. So it's the first step in IVF, whereby a woman goes through the process of injecting shots of hormones, FSH and things like that, menopause, that basically take the follicles and stimulate more follicles during an ovulation cycle and mature as many of those follicles into eggs as possible. So what happens in our normal ovulation cycle is each woman is different, but our ovaries release a certain amount of follicles every month for those of us that ovulate every month, because as we know, not all women ovulate every month.
No,
that's a whole nother discussion of all the things, right? But let's say that an ovary releases about 10 follicles. So what happens is one of them will mature into an egg and go in the fallopian tubes for fertilization. So what the freezing eggs process does is, instead of 10 follicles coming up, those hormones maybe make 20 come up. And instead of one egg being matured, they try to mature all of them. And so then you have to get blood tests and ultrasounds just about every day for about a 10 to 14 day process of injections. And then when the fertility specialist sees that you're ripe and ready, meaning as many follicles as possible have been matured and they're at the right diameter and all of these things, because they're mimicking nature here, you take a trigger shot, and it is timed specifically for your retrieval the next day or later on in that evening. And they retrieve them with a catheter. You're put to sleep, and they kind of just suck the eggs out, and it's given to an embryologist. The embryologist is the scientist, not the fertility specialist, but the scientist that actually looks at the chromosomes to make sure that the egg is healthy and can go into the freezer, and that it would be a viable pregnancy, should they be used or fertilized. So the embryologist then takes them and freezes them. They call you the next day. They tell you how many were successfully frozen. So for me, I got 32 eggs. They can tell you that as soon as you wake up, and 29 of them survived and were viable and frozen.
Wow. Wow. So what is the storage price like this? Does it cost to keep them stored for a certain amount of time?
It does. So it varies on the clinic that you go to. You know, where I went, they had a package where you could buy 5 years of the freeze, and then that was at a reduced rate, and then you go into a monthly rate. So that can range anywhere from about like, it can range from like $80 to $150 a month, depending. So for me, it's a pair of shoes that I don't buy that month. So I literally say, you know, I am a mom. I'm a mom of 29 frozen eggs that I am still paying for. They are still being paid for.
They still being paid for.
Yeah, honey, they mine. They came out of my body, and I'm paying for them, which means I'm a mama. I'm a mama to
that's
them.
Right.
You know, so yes, there is a storage, but when you think about what insurance it gives me in my spirit to know that I have potential fertility frozen, that part is priceless. And that's just for me and my journey. But what I will say is, I don't know if I'll ever use those eggs.
So I was going to get to that. Like, where are you right now in your personal journey of like, do you know if you'll ever use them? Because I've seen, I'm a loving basketball person, basketball wives, you know, and I saw when Evelyn released her eggs and decided not to keep the eggs anymore. So, you know, are you thinking about that, or have you spoken to warriors that have been at that point?
You know what? It's such a personal decision based off of wherever you are in your life. For me, I don't know whether I'm going to use them or not, but I do know that they're mine, and I know that they're there. And when I say I don't know whether I'm going to use them or not, I still get my fertility checked, even at this age. I just got my fertility checked in February. And we're filming this now in June. So even though I have frozen eggs, I'm still asking my body, what are you doing today? So for me, and at my age, what a gynecologist or fertility specialist will tell me based off of my AMH and my FSH is to try for 6 months. And if it doesn't work, then move on. Or somebody might say, you know what? Let's try IVF. Let's get them eggs out of the freezer. So for me right now, I don't have children. I'm not letting them go. I put them there for a reason, and God will tell me what to do with them when the time is right.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. You're just like, look, I'm on this journey, and it's a day-to-day thing for me.
It is. There's no right answer. And part of being on this journey is allowing yourself the grace to decide in the time that feels right for you. That is what preserving my fertility gives me. It gives me the grace. So sometimes what happens is friends or family members, and they might be well-meaning, might say, well, when are you going to defrost these eggs? We want a baby already. And you know, did you ever think about using a friend's sperm or going to a sperm donor? And I'm always telling them, first of all, you will not deal with the consequences of the answer of the question you're asking me. And I always tell them that. Number two, I froze my eggs to take the pressure off. So I'm not going to allow you or anybody else to put it back on me. Because the reality is 99.9% of people that ask those invasive, triggering questions to somebody that is going through assisted reproduction are other women. Other women ask me and anybody else that just gets married or where's the baby at? It's other women putting pressure on women. Men say to me, men that know I froze my eggs, oh, that's great. That's dope. Good luck. I'll pray for you. You got this.
Yeah, I said child please when you said that, because even with me having frozen my eggs, but and I get the question, when you gonna get married? When you gonna have somebody? Why do I have to go on your schedule? I got to the point when I had to say to people, when God deems it necessary.
Or mind your uterus.
I haven't used that. Mind your own uterus. But also when we talk about minding our own uterus, it comes in a conversation with when you're going to have a baby. But in the Black community, and I want to get to this, is when we talk about some of the disparities in healthcare, one of the things I found out is Black women, we don't talk about the tough stuff. You talking about infertility, but even with me having fibroids, or friends that I know that have PCOS or endometriosis, you have guests that come on Warrior Wednesdays to talk about that and how they're dealing with it. But you find out sometimes that in their families, they didn't even know, like I didn't know my aunt, why she had her hysterectomy. I always knew she talked about, I had a hysterectomy. I didn't know that she had something that my doctor just diagnosed me with last year. It was adenomyosis. Okay. I didn't know that until we were sitting around one day, and I've just been open and I said it. She was like, oh, baby, you have what I had. And I'm looking at her like, girl,
that's the cousin of endometriosis.
Right. And it's
that's an inflammatory condition. Right. Yes. And very painful.
Who you telling?
Yes. Because the inflammation gets in the muscles, the lining that's bleeding there gets into the muscles, and that's the cousin of endometriosis. So yes, right. We don't talk about those things because there are a lot of myths in our community as Black Americans, and there's myths that Black women are fertile, and that goes all the way back to the days of enslaved Africans, where enslaved African women were thought to be breeders. And so we have adopted that myth that, Black women, we have babies all the time. No, we don't. No. We are infertile, if not, it's not just as much as our white counterpart, actually more. And a lot of times it does have to do with underlying conditions like fibroids and endometriosis and adenomyosis and PCOS and all of those things. And what we have to do is we have to be very, very vocal, especially mothers with their daughters, aunts with their nieces, cousins with their cousins, about the experiences at an early age. Because one of the things that we do is we think that our menstrual cycle is supposed to be painful and hard. Oh, that's just your period. Right. Periods are bad. Yeah, she can't go to school today because she's having a bad period. Here's the thing. Your period is a vital sign. Right. Just like your heartbeat, your blood pressure, if any of those numbers are abnormal, it is an indication that something else is going on. It is the same thing with your period. If you skip periods, if you have very heavy periods, if you are balled over in pain every month, that is an indication that something else is going on. Women are not supposed to be not able to go to work or not able to go to school because of a period. That is most likely a fibroid. That is most likely endometriosis. And these are things that we don't talk about, and we normalize painful menstrual cycles, and it has to stop.
You know what? I want to bring up a quote you used in one of your recordings, and it was the one you did with men, but I think this fits right here, where you all said, you're breaking generational curses you are built to break. Like, that's what you're doing. And I feel like you just kind of did that with the whole myth about Black women. Like, Black women are strong, because that's what happens in the hospital rooms, that Black women are strong. You don't need this, or that's, you're okay. And we don't get to talk about these. I've heard horror stories. I've been lucky enough to have a Black female gynecologist my entire life. Thank God I did.
Amen.
I would have never known I feel like I would have never known. Not to say that a doctor of a different ethnicity wouldn't have helped me, but you hear so many horror stories from women about what they go through, and they don't know that they have fibroids or endometriosis, or a doctor says, well, if you have fibroids, just leave them there if they're not bothering you. Well, what is this going to do to my body? Or I look like I'm pregnant and I'm not, and then I'm having trouble getting, I feel like you're breaking down that generational curse of stop going by these myths. find out what's wrong, advocate for yourself.
We have to do that. We have to do it right away because there are internal biases, there are health inequities, and you feel it. And one of the things that we don't give ourselves permission to do is if you are in a room with a doctor and you feel like your pain is not being believed, you are not being heard, you are being thrown a medication just to solve the symptom, but not to find the cause. For instance, if a woman is not ovulating and she says, I'm not getting my period, and somebody just says, well, here, take some Clomid so that way you'll get your period. No, why am I not getting my period?
Right.
You're giving me a medication for me to get my period is putting a Band-Aid on the symptom. That's the symptom that's telling you there's a problem inside. Right. So I want the doctor that wants to investigate why I'm not ovulating or getting my cycle. And so what we have to give ourselves permission to do is go to another doctor and another one and another one and another one until you find somebody that speaks into your listening, that speaks the language and that does the work, the homework on you the same way you would do the homework on you. So we have to empower ourselves for that. The other thing that women need to do, and that I suggest they do, is keep a menstrual period month by month. How many days, how you're bleeding, is it heavy, is it light, was it a lot of cramps, so that you know what your body is doing. Because sometimes we'll go for our yearly pap smear and they'll say, how is everything? It's okay. But you skipped 4 periods. Each month is heavy and it's getting heavier. Like if you don't write these things down, it may not be at the tip of your tongue when you are in front of a medical professional. And also with the advocating, another tip that I always give people. Now I'm from Philly originally, so we don't know how to not advocate. That's just one of the things.
Y'all vocal, just like us DC Maryland people. Okay, we vocal.
Okay, we listen. Even when they put me to sleep for my egg freeze, I wasn't all the way asleep, and he turned the lights out, and I saw that happen. And the next thing I knew, I was woken up in recovery. And so when the doctor came in, I started screaming, you turn the lights out, you this, that, and the third. He turns the lights out because he likes to take the eggs out in the dark because they naturally live in the dark. But I was already there vocally to go after him. Like, what was that about? To know everything I needed to know. But I always tell people also, if you don't naturally have that advocacy voice in you, because not everybody does, bring your friend that does. Everybody got a homegirl or a cousin or an auntie that is right there to advocate for whatever needs are not being met at that moment. Don't feel the pressure to have to speak up if it's not your thing. Bring somebody with you that will write their questions down before the appointment and that will help you advocate so you get the best care that you deserve.
Yeah. And I think women think of, because now a lot of women are having doulas during their pregnancy, right? But we don't think about having that person prior to or just going through the normal, day-to-day health stuff, if we're not vocal people.
Right. And we should, right? Because it's because we shouldn't have to feel scared or dismissed and like our pain is not real or not believed. A lot of people reach out to me from Warrior Wednesdays and had no idea what PCOS is or what endometriosis is. And they'll tell me, because of those episodes and watching things over and over again, I think that's what's going on with me, because that matches this and that matches that. And I'm like, well, are you going to a gynecologist? Yeah, I just get my regular pap smear and that's it. I'm like, this is why we have to talk about these things, because we need to inform ourselves about how, we had sex education, which was telling us scare tactics, what not to do if you don't want to get pregnant, right?
Right.
But we didn't get reproductive health education.
No, we didn't.
That's different. How the reproductive system works, and when it works a certain way and when it doesn't work a certain way, and why. We weren't taught that at all. And what the fallopian tubes, they can be blocked, and what your cervix is, and how your eggs work, and what's follicular atresia. We weren't given this information.
No,
and I just want to be clear really quickly. When I froze my eggs at 37 years old, I didn't know all the stuff that I'm talking about now. I didn't even know that women were born with as many eggs as we're ever going to have. I did not realize that, oh, this is it. I don't make eggs. No, men make sperm. You don't make eggs. This is all you got. I didn't realize there were certain foods that helped the quality of my eggs. I didn't realize that if you heat food up in plastic, that there's a chemical that actually kills the quality of your eggs.
Really?
I didn't realize the environment was changing my cellular makeup in my fertility. There's so much I didn't know. So I don't want women out there to think that, tag, why didn't I know this? Why didn't I know? None of us did, because none of us were taught reproductive health. But you have to teach it to yourself now. You have to.
Yeah, you do. And it's crazy because it's like you were doing this research at an older age, like, wait a minute, this is all that goes on. Why did I learn this before? But you know what? I went through, I will say this, I went through the same thing. Now, I didn't necessarily keep a handwritten journal. I just had a really good memory of what the pain was. When I found out, I remember I went to, and I was like, okay, this is a problem. Like having the blood clots, heavy cycles. I'm in pain to the point where I'm waking up 3 o'clock in the morning and full of blood everywhere. I went to that gynecologist. I said, look, something wrong. Something is wrong. This is what's happening. And she said, well, because I went to her, I wanted an IUD because, you know, I've been on birth control, want to make sure I have kids when I'm ready, not before I'm ready. Right. And so I was asking to change to the Paragard IUD. And she was like, no, wait a minute. If you're having these problems, I want to wait. She said, wait, and let's find out what's going on.
Right, because if it was an estrogen dominant IUD, that could grow the fibroids. So because estrogen is food for fibroids. So she needed to wait to see what is going on before we put you on something else. That's a doctor that's saying what's causing this versus let me just do something for the symptoms. Because women have literally gone into blood transfusions because of fibroids.
Yep.
Died, near-death experiences. I've had somebody on Warrior Wednesdays, she's a dear friend of mine, that had blood clots and was in the shower, and it was like a chicken cutlet, she said, came out of her.
Like a little baby squid?
Like a little baby squid. And she had to go, she was rushed to the emergency room, and she was actually at work because she normalized having a heavy, painful period. And she would wear pads after pads, and she would put 4 or 5 pads on top of each other. And she knew she had fibroids. She just didn't know how big they were getting, but she normalized it. So she's literally sitting at her desk like, it's just another month. No, girl. Me. She almost like passed out. She was rushed to the hospital from her office directly into a blood transfusion.
Wow.
So that's reproductive health. We have to know what these things are. And to your point about waking up in a pool of blood, we have to be immediately called to action when we see signs and signals that are not normal. Yeah. Because it shouldn't have to get to that point. It shouldn't have to get to that point. Right.
You know what I say to my doctor or people that know, I have my gynecologist, I treat her like she's my good girlfriend. Honey, she got to check my inside parts. We got to be friends. I got to tell her exactly what's going on with me. Like, exactly. Look here. This is what's happening with this. And be very graphic. I don't care. She's a doctor. She done seen it all. Okay. That's what I think. And I have to be as graphic as possible, because if I don't, I'm going to still suffer and not know what's going on. I have to tell her, because she's the person that is employed to help me.
Right. Exactly. To help you, to help that. And it's really important that you say that, because there is help. There is help. You don't have to suffer. Like I said, your period is a vital sign. So if you're getting chicken cutlet blood clots, that's a sign.
A big one.
A big vital sign that something else is going on. And I think what needs to really happen, I did a panel with Black Love on OWN recently for fertility. And one of the women said to me afterwards, as a mom of 5 girls, I now know what I have to look for, that I might have just said, you know, I'm going to teach her about when she gets her period. But now I get to know what to look for. Is the period normal? Is it lasting the right amount of days? Is she in pain? Is she this? Is she that? So that we can really, it has to be something that not only we look in ourselves, but we have to look in our little people that are coming up behind us, so that we can get rid of these myths and we can see the signs sooner in life. So that, because there's help, like you said, there's help.
There is help. No, I know it's interesting to me because we all, you know, I think now because of COVID, we're more in the healthcare field, we're more in tune to mental health. But so many women and men of families that are supportive of women that are going through infertility or reproductive issues, we deal with the mental health issue of dealing with these issues, dealing with this. So what have you discovered? What have you found out on Warrior Wednesdays about the mental health part of this?
Well, there's a wonderful doctor. Her name is Dr. Lori Johnson, and I had her on Warrior Wednesdays, and she is an infertility therapist. So she deals specifically with cases of infertility, and because she went through it herself. Here's the thing. I don't take advice from anybody that hasn't walked some miles in the shoes that I'm wearing, because it's really hard to relate to people if they don't have any understanding of what you're going through. The mental health of it, it's very, very, very difficult. There needs to be a space where we can have God and a therapist.
Hello.
I have a therapist, and I see my therapist every 2 weeks, and he is a man, and he is in Miami, Florida, and we Skype. And whether I'm having a good 2 weeks or a bad 2 weeks, it's a stand-alone appointment. It doesn't change. Everything could be going beautifully in my life or destroyed in my life. He's there because your mental health informs your physical health.
It does.
It informs your physical health, and it is your health, right? Because I suffer from anxiety. I've never really said that publicly. You got it, Mom.
Girl, I just started taking ashwagandha, so I have a therapist too. I've been seeing, you know, spiritual advising, you know, all of it.
The whole thing. Yes. So I, like, newsflash, y'all, I suffer from anxiety, and I just had an anxiety attack maybe a week and a half ago, and so I know what they are. I'm used to them. I know that I'm thinking, you know, doom and gloom, and that I have to do some breathing exercises to calm my nerves, to calm all those things. But it doesn't matter how quote unquote strong you are.
Right.
There's always something that is there knocking at your door to say, stop, slow down, take care of yourself. And one of the ways that my mental health is helped as it relates to being single and wanting to be married with a child is doing Warrior Wednesdays.
I love it.
Is talking about it, is not hiding my pain. If you watch Warrior Wednesdays, you see me cry.
Yeah,
almost, girl, almost every time I'm on there. And I let it happen because I know that this is part of the healing. Yeah. Finding your purpose as to why that mountain is in front of you. That is how I approach this from a mental health standpoint. Right. God, what is the purpose of this? How are you using this in my life? So when I talked earlier about, I don't know if I'll ever use my eggs, I was talking about for whether or not I'll use them to get pregnant. But trust and believe God is already using those eggs, because I'm talking to you.
You're right.
Because I'm doing Warrior Wednesdays, because I wrote a movie and sold it to a network about fertility with Black women. So those eggs are being used. They're being used.
Right.
Their purpose is already being met. Even before they're placed back in my body, or even before I give birth to them, look at what they've already birthed.
Right.
So finding your purpose in your pain is my approach to helping my mental health survive the journey.
I love it. I love it. And I also love how you said you've included your friends. I love it. I was like I said, I in my research of everything that you do. I'm like, oh look, she's included all her friends, all her celeb friends. I'm like, oh, she got Uncle Clifford, Nico on there. She got Nico Nash, Sherry Shepherd. I mean, it was great listening because I think as an everyday woman who's not into, the celebrity world, I think about when you can connect more with certain celebrities or people that you look up to because you love their work, that, wow, they're going through the same thing that
The
I'm
same
going
thing.
through.
All the people that you just mentioned. So Uncle Clifford is Nico Anand from P Valley, y'all. Uncle Clifford from P Valley. He is my godbrother.
Wow.
So Nico is my mom's godson, and his mother is my godmother.
Wow.
So my mother chooses him over me every day of the week, even though she gave birth to me, and vice versa. But he has been a part of my life all my life, but also because he's my brother, but also my egg journey from before I even froze the eggs. He was right there holding my hand. He just texted me while we were talking. Then you mentioned Niecy Nash. I was on the phone with sister right before I called in to do this interview. But what I will say about Niecy is, okay, so I'm going to show you this, but I know we're recording this. So Niecy has been on Warrior Wednesday several times, and she's been a part of my fertility journey since forever. What some people don't know, but that Niecy disclosed to us, is that her third child, when Niecy was carrying Dia, her third child, she actually miscarried. She miscarried a baby and had a D&C and the whole thing. And she wanted to get her tubes tied after that because she was so distraught. And the doctors, she was on a movie set when she was miscarrying. And so she was in a different city. And they said, we're so sorry, you're miscarrying. And they did a D&C. When she got back to LA, she wanted to get her tubes tied because she's like, I cannot go through that again. I already have 2 kids. I can't do it again. And she went to her regular doctor and they said, well, when do you want to tie your tubes, before or after you have the baby? And she said, no, I miscarried. And they did the D&C and they said, but you're pregnant. And she was the same amount of weeks pregnant as before. So what was determined was she was pregnant with twins.
Wow.
One of them miscarried and the other one did not, and actually hung on through all of that stuff. Wow. Sherry Shepherd, how you mentioned, she also was pregnant with twins. She had a boy and a girl. One of them unfortunately miscarried and Jeffrey was born. So we all have a fertility story. But one of the things and that's why I bring them on, because number one, I love them and I would get, we love each other. We just gonna do the thing. But the other thing is I'm showing this. Can you guys see this?
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay. So this is a crystal egg. And when I froze my eggs and I learned that women were panicking, I wrote a movie and I sold that movie to a network. So we're going to be shooting that soon. And one of the things that Niecy does is she taught me to have actual tangible things of faith.
Wow. So
she bought me onesies for my future babies. And she brought me this crystal egg. And inside of this crystal egg, to remind me of my eggs, is a little thing of black mustard seeds.
Yeah, I love
it. Mustard seed faith, y'all. So, and because I'm black, with these black, because black,
I love it.
But this is something that I keep actually right on my coffee table, because I don't ever want to forget my purpose, what God can do. I want to be able to hold on to something when I'm feeling low. I grabbed my onesies. One day I was out and I bought myself some baby booties. I ain't got no child, y'all, but I saw the cutest little baby booties and I had them up in my closet. So my sister Niecy was here one day trying to get some of my clothes. And she opened the closet door and she was like, oh, these are cute. Well, why you got them shoved in the back of the closet? And I was like, cause they're just like for me. She's like, but you can't see them. You can't see your baby.
Right.
And she took them out of that closet And she set them like right on my dresser by my bed and was like, now you won't forget what God said to you. So get yourself something that you can look at, that you can hold in your hand. If next time you at Target, if you want a baby, go ahead and buy your baby an outfit. Stop playing.
Manifest it. Manifest that shit.
Manifest it. So I got my faith, I got my eggs, I got my mustard seeds in here. So I'm moving mountains.
I know that's right.
We moving mountains.
Yeah, I know that's right. Now, one thing I do want to ask you about, and I know it's not necessarily about fertility. Sherry Safford asked that sex question.
You really be watching.
Oh, hey, look, because that's something that she asked the question. Will I ever lose these orgasms? And I love how the doctor came on and was like, they don't go anywhere. Now you do have to do some things to make sure certain things are working. And then you mentioned a womanizer. So can you explain this womanizer? Because I might need to know what this is.
Oh my God. Okay, y'all. So Sherry was on Warriors one day and she asked Dr. Cindy M. Duke. Dr. Cindy Duke is she's actually going to be on this coming Wednesday, but she is a fertility specialist and virologist, and she's the head of the Nevada Fertility Institute. We love her. Mm-hmm. And so I told Sherry, you can ask the doctor a question. I should have known that my friend was going to ask this question. So she asked her about her orgasms. No, they do not go away. So the womanizer, y'all. Okay, because this is what you asked me for. So it was 2 Christmases ago. It was 2019. I think it was 2019. Niecy gave Sherry and I the womanizer vibrator.
What?
It is now the one that we have, Niecy, because Niecy is very bougie, y'all. She loves everything that's pink and crystally. Mm-hmm. So ours is pink and crystally. It don't have to be though. They have the other ones that are just low key. Okay. But I think ours is from Europe because it has some weird plug-in device. Anyway, let me tell you something. To every person with that has a clitoris, mm-hmm. That they like to have stimulated, go ahead and get yourself a womanizer, whether you're in a relationship or not. Right. It will de-stress you. It will impress you. Mm-hmm. And it will make you smile. It is just one of those things. Now, Sherry, if you look on her page, there is a live with me and her talking about it. And then there goes Niecy texting me right now. See, we talking about them. And then they're all
breaking her up. Tell her I said hi, girl. Hey.
She's like, you want to go out? Yeah, I'll tell you, say hey. What you call it? Sherry said it was too much for her. She said the womanizer. The womanizer took her to places that she didn't want to go. But then
that's too much. That didn't look too much strength, huh?
Sherry said that thing almost flipped me off my bed. It took me places, and I almost broke my back. And I'm not doing that. And I just was like, well, you missing out. And there's a couple. I won't name the other celebrity Black women, but we all put it this way: if there's a funny Black celebrity out there, trust and believe, Niecy has given them the womanizer. Okay,
I know that's right.
Just know she spreads the wealth. Okay, that's what she does.
I know that's right. No, but see, why I wanted to ask that question is because of what I said before. Sometimes when we're going through these reproductive health issues, like I said, you don't feel sexy and desired. So it's good that she asked that question because it shows that even though you're going through so much, you can still feel, other parts of being a woman and feeling sexy and empowered and desired and desire yourself. Like you said, whether you're single, whether you're in a relationship, get yourself a womanizer.
Get yourself a womanizer, because here's the thing. What you just said, the point you just made is so great. And it is so necessary because the healthiest we are is when we're ambivalent, mm-hmm. when we can honor the truth of our pain and honor the truth of our joy at the same time.
Right.
We don't have to just be in pain. Like, I'm going through this journey. Life is hard. Yes, it is. This hurts. Yes, it does. I'm grieving. Yes, you are. But you can also look at the things that you are really grateful for simultaneously. It doesn't take away the pain, right. But it keeps you healthy in a space where you can say, I'm still a woman that is desirable. I still have needs. I still want pleasure. I want to feel good. I want to go out with my friends. I want to feel the sunshine kiss my face. We have to give ourselves the balance the balance of the good and the not so good, and how to get more of that good. And so for us, yes, the womanizer is part of the good, honey.
I know that's right. I know that's right. But like I said, I love how you fold in your extended family into all of this. And I know your immediate family is supportive too. So I just really, it really helped me to know that, because I may have a supportive family, but I know other people may not have, that nuclear supportive family. And you have to think about that extended family.
That extended family and your friends that are your family. And like I said earlier, the warriors on Warrior Wednesdays are my family. Right. I have made so many friends in that comment section that are now have my personal telephone number, right, and that are my real dear friends that I know that they're already showering my unborn future in my life. They're already touching and agreeing with me and with everybody that's on Warrior Wednesdays. Like, the more the merrier. We have a system, you know what I mean? Like, if someone has gone through a miscarriage, they know to put the rainbows up. They know this is how we do it. We honor those. They know that if somebody is in the comment section that shouldn't be there, that's acting up a little crazy, I will get a text and they'll say, block this person right after this live. Like, they don't play.
That's right. Look, don't play. Don't be coming up here with no foolishness. We got work to do.
Foolishness or no whatever. Like, we're there for each other. There's a very beautiful episode. I don't know if you saw it, but during National Infertility Awareness Month, I had over a dozen Black female fertility advocates and bloggers. And we even had a doula on, because I wanted our community of Black people to know we're out here. Yeah. The resources are out here. You are not alone. There is a sister that looks just like you, that has a website, that has resources, that is going through the same pain as you, that is using her pain in a purposeful way to get the message out. Because what I don't want people to feel is that, I'm a Black woman, but we don't talk about this. I don't know any support groups. I don't really know what to look up. I brought over a dozen, and like I said, including a doula, authors, and Coach Jessie, who's a nutritionist, Michelle Poston from Her Normal, who's a board member at Resolve, Regina Townsend, my homegirl, that will like preach you into the glory of God.
I know, who has the
broken brown egg. Shaquita Lockley, who is the producer and the director of Eggs Over Easy film, which I am in. Andra Day is in. Coach Jessie is in. And now it's going to be on OWN. We out here.
We out here.
We out here. You are out here having this conversation so that we do not feel alone in this thing.
Yeah. Well, that's how I found the White Dress Project. And I mean, I'm a person, my 9 to 5 is in politics. So I know about advocating. So I'm looking for these groups, and I'm looking fibroid awareness, and I stumble upon the White Dress Project. I was on the host committee for Night in White in 2018, interviewed Tanika last year for this podcast talking about Fibroid Awareness Month. And now I'm on the board doing the work.
I love it.
And Tanika was
on that episode.
Right. And she found the purpose in her pain and creating the White Dress Project. So we have this space, and you've created a space with Warrior Wednesdays to have all of these conversations that we need to have about infertility and reproductive health in our communities, and know that we're not alone. We don't suffer in silence.
No. And we can't let the sister to the left or the right of us think that she's alone. Right. You know what I mean? I always have this phrase that I use: leave no egg behind. Leave no egg behind. Like, whoever needs to hear the message, grab their hand and let them know you're not alone. Offer your support, because that's how I heal, and the excitement that I feel when I met Tanika through the White Dress Project, when I meet Shaquita from Eggs Over Easy or Infertility and Me podcast, the excitement that I feel see these beautiful women, the excitement that I feel to even like when I got your invite to be on this show. And at first I missed, I was like, oh girl, wait, anytime. Cause I was like, I missed this. We got to do it, because the excitement that I feel to be able to have this kind of conversation with you,
right,
is if one soul is changed, even if it's yours or mine, then we've done something in this world.
Yeah.
We've done something in this world just by telling our truth.
Yeah. And
That's
you know what? I learned that through therapy. Well, and when you speak your truth, when you have someone that you trust, that you can speak your truth with, that is real love. It's powerful.
That's real love, and that's soulmates.
Mm-hmm. And soulmates doesn't mean romantic. It doesn't. We need to get off of that.
Warrior Wednesdays is my soulmate.
I know that's right.
You are my soulmate. People that you can have a truthful, honest conversation, like you said, that can see you, that can see your fears, that can see what you're going through, that can relate without any judgment. That's a soulmate to me. And so this has been, you know, my journey through being in fertility, being in the fertility space, has brought so many soulmates into my life. And I don't have a baby yet, but my arms are full.
I know that's right.
They're full with all of these beautiful women to hug and talk with and love on, and vice versa. My arms are full. And so God, he always supplies the need. If you meet him where he's at, he will tell you the right time for all of the decisions about when you're going to have the baby, how you're going to have the baby, if you're going to adopt the baby, all of those things. But right now, my arms are full.
I know that's
They're so full.
And you're so happy and so joyful in doing this work. And I just feel you, even though we're on Zoom, I can feel your energy. I can feel your spirit. And I just feel how full of life it makes you to do this work.
It does, more than acting. And I'll say it right here. I love being an actor. It's a passion. I've been doing it since I was a kid. God has been kind enough to keep me as a working actor. I'll be working on next week on My Block on Netflix. So y'all see that in season 4.
Yes.
But nothing matches talking to you today. And I'm being completely transparent. Nothing in my acting career has ever come close to how I feel when I have these conversations. And that's how you know you're in purpose.
Yeah.
That's how you know. Because if I was married with a baby, I wouldn't know you. So if God wants to bring people into my life because he has left something open for them to enter, it's my job to say, come on in.
Honor it.
Honor it. Come on in. This isn't what I thought we were going to be doing, God, but if this is where we're doing, and I get to see and meet all of these beautiful brown people that have this resilience and this strength to talk about these issues so that we know we are part of a club that we can be normalized. It's beautiful. When I did do the episode with the 3 men.
I love that you did that, because you know, you think about the women and what they go through, but we don't think about the men in their lives, their husbands or their fathers, or, you know, even with going through everything with me, I thought I couldn't talk to my father.
Yeah.
And see, this is gonna make me cry. My father's my best friend. Like, my parents are like my besties. I talk to them every day. We might call each other for health issues or call each other just to, like the other day, he called me dying laughing at my mother because of the cicadas here in the DC, Maryland area. And he was dying laughing. But to know that this time when the doctor was talking to me about, you know, going through the next testing, which I have a sonogram coming up on June 18th.
Amen.
Because of the adenomyosis, I'm having some issues with, you know, how she's trying to treat it. And before I could get to my mother, who I usually tell this stuff to first, my father answered the phone after that doctor's appointment. And I told him first. And I think he really appreciated that he could comfort me in that moment. And say, baby, even if you don't have a baby, it's okay. We have you.
Oh.
And in that moment, I knew I was okay, even if I don't have kids. Like, I even told my doctor, I'm okay. I've dealt with the fact that motherhood may not happen the traditional way, and I'm okay. But I was worried about how my father was going to feel because we have such a close connection. I remember one day he told me, I can't wait till you have kids. We have such this close relationship that I know, I'll be as close with your kids as I am with my granddaughters, and I can't wait.
Yeah.
And to hear him say that and to comfort me, and then to see how you brought men into the fold. I'm sorry that we're like crying like
no,
this.
it's it. This is what we be doing.
But to know that they have some thought, they go through this with the women in their lives that are going through these issues, infertility or any reproductive health issue. Mm-hmm. That was so powerful because we don't always think of that. And I love that you gave them that space.
Well, listen, kudos to your daddy.
He's a great man. He is. He's the best.
He is. And, we are sown in our mother's womb, but I do believe as little spirits, we choose our parents in some way. Mm-hmm. And you chose well. So kudos to your father for being the voice that you needed to hear in that moment. And because you always going to be his little girl. Mm-hmm. You're always going to be his little girl. And I assume that it relieved you of feeling like there was going to be disappointment.
It did. Ahead. It did. It gave me so much in that moment to hear him say it's okay.
It gave it to him too, to be able to nurture you through your life. Mm-hmm. Because the reality is that when we have that support, whether it's from a parent, whether it's from a friend, whether it's from an online person in your DM, feeling less alone gives you more power to still find yourself in reaching your goal, whatever that goal may be.
Right.
Because we don't know, if God puts a desire in your heart to be a mother, and then there are challenges and roadblocks to it. Like when you said, I've already accepted the fact that might not be for me. I remember telling my mother that I had to mourn the fact that I was not a mother and I don't know how it's going to happen. Right. And she was like, I don't like to hear that word mourn. And why are you saying it like that? I said, because Mom, you have to realize when you were my age, you were married with 2 kids and off doing your career and, all of those things. And this has not happened for me.
Right.
And I have to mourn the dream I had for myself.
Exactly.
Because if I don't, I won't be able to take a next step to even hear God. If he's trying to tell me, I need you to do it this way.
Exactly.
I won't hear him if I'm stuck on something that is not happening. And I want to be able to mourn it and say, okay, we're here. We're at this mountain. Mm-hmm. But God, I still want to climb it. I'm not climbing it the way I thought I was going to, but I want to make sure that I can hear you if there is another path for me.
Right.
I remember my dear friend, Kim Whitley, and how she adopted Joshua. Mm-hmm. So if y'all don't know her story, Kim was mentoring a teenager, a teenage girl, and one day got a call that girl had a baby and left at the hospital and said to call Kim if the baby needed a guardian, because she did not want to take care of the child for whatever reason may have been going on in her life. She couldn't. She gave them Kim's name before the child would be in foster care or put in the system.
Right.
So Kim just woke up on a Wednesday and was a mom by Wednesday night. You don't know the assignment you're going to be given.
You don't.
And when God is going to say, I'm calling your card now. I'm calling your number to motherhood now. All you know is how to take one step forward each and every day to make sure you can hear God's voice. And when you're gifted with a father like you are gifted with, he makes that step that much easier to take because you're not taking it by yourself.
Yeah.
So that if being a mother is still a desire for you, you'll hear it.
Yeah.
You'll hear it. I already know. Even when you asked me earlier in the conversation, do you know what you're going to do with your eggs? I know until God is done using them in this space, that baby ain't coming.
I know that's right. But it's gonna come for you soon because you are blessed and you're blessing so many people with this message, like letting them have this space. Like, this is why, I mean, I'm telling you, when White Dress Project, we were looking for a host and we called Kellee, we were in the middle of the conversation and I was like, look, we got to talk about this on Tea Time. Like, I gotta get you. I was like, I gotta get you on Tea Time because this is some tea that we really need, because like you said, so many women and men are going through this. The men supporting their women, the women just physically, mentally going through this. And not everybody's talking when it comes to healthcare. Like I mentioned I didn't know my aunt was dealing with the same stuff, and this is the aunt that, nurtured me. Was the village over here, and I had no clue. And that's the conversations we need to have so people don't feel alone, and that you can be vocal. You can be private. Do whatever you need to do.
Take the little baby steps, because even when you mentioned that your aunt didn't even know, Jimmy Keys, who was one of the men in the fertility episode that we did with the men, one of his dear friends was going through infertility with his wife at the same time that he had him mentioning, and they didn't know. He had never spoke about it. Jimmy and Dom, his wife, is an award-winning writer of Broadway. She wrote the book for The Temptations, the musical.
Wow.
On Broadway. That's whose husband was on Warriors.
Wow.
I've known Jimmy for years. Jimmy also knows Nico and all of that. They've come here for Christmas for years. We be eating together. I never knew his perspective of it. I didn't even know Dom's perspective of it. It was something that we weren't talking about. And I had heard that Dominique was going through infertility. Jimmy and Dominique were going through it. And when I wrote my movie, because Dominique's a writer as well, I had a character that was pregnant and I changed the name to Dominique because I wanted to honor that she would be a mom one day.
Right.
And that was the draft that the network said, this is the draft, you're done with rewrites. It was when I changed that character to Dominique. And then later on, she announced that they had adopted a baby.
Amazing. And look at that.
And I had to tell Dominique, I said, you didn't even know that I was touching and agreeing with you that you were going to be a mom. You didn't even know that even in my writing, something, my spirit, my prayer was like, Dominique's going to be a mom. She's going to be a mom. Even if she's a mom on this page, she's going to be a mom.
Mom, right.
And they adopted their son. And to hear the men talk about their experience, and let's be clear, male factor infertility is a thing. Women often take on the role of being the infertile one when somebody with sperm and somebody with ovaries are trying to conceive, and it's not working. The woman automatically thinks it's her. Automatically. And what we have to know is that 1/3 of all infertility cases are male factor infertility. 1/3 is female factor infertility, and 1/3 is a combination of both. And so I just did an episode with Dacia Lewis, and she has a book called The Game of Life. You need to interview her. She has a book called The Game of Life.
Where's my pen? You said The Game of Life. Okay.
Dacia, I said it wrong. Yeah, Dacia Lewis, The Game of Life. Everybody that's listening needs to get this book because it's so great. And it's about her journey through infertility. And each chapter is named after a game that we play, like tug of war, like that kind of thing. And she kind of talks about that tug of war of her and God, and her faith intertwined. And she also uses her journal entries to talk about it. But what happened was Dacia went through hearing God telling her to get off of birth control for her husband, her and her friend walking through to say, yep, we're going to have babies together. Her friend got pregnant. She didn't. 2 years later, she's still not pregnant. Her friend is on her second baby. Okay, Lord, what's wrong with me? Let me go to the doctor. She went through all of these tests. Then she even went through an HSG test. That's when they put the iodine dye in the cervix to make sure the fallopian tubes are clear and all of that, which is a very painful, expensive test. Only to find out, Dacia, you're fine. There's nothing wrong. You need to ask your husband. He needs to get a sperm analysis, which is about $150. Turns out it was male factor infertility.
Wait a minute, stop, pause. You said a financial number that just made me be like.
Because you know why? Women automatically and men automatically assume if somebody's not getting pregnant, there must be something wrong with the woman.
Yeah, but
we
the
gotta
cost
get
is
that
different
out
for us
right now. Even when because I said to her, when do you suggest couples, let's say we have a heterosexual couple, let's say, how do you suggest they start figuring that out? She said, when you dating, tell him to get a semen analysis because it's about $150. So before we go through all of this stuff, let's make sure the easiest test to do is good to go. She said, during my betrothment period, I wish we had gotten some health tests done. The same way you have to go get a marriage license and get a blood test, we should have gotten this stuff done so we could figure it out. So it turned out, and he's now vocal about it, but of course it was, she said she had to find the grace to give him the time because it feels like emasculating almost. Like I ain't shooting blanks. She said, he was angry. He was this, he's that. Right. She's like, and I had gotten all these tests and I had to give him the grace to come to terms with the fact that, okay, I'll go in, I'll do this. But literally, if we could kind of reverse that, that's the easier, less expensive test. And if that's okay, then the woman might have to go through a series, a battery of tests to see if there's something going on that can be corrected. Or helped through IVF or IUI or whatever it may be. Right. But yes, there is male factor infertility, y'all. So don't assume just because you a young, strapping man that it's all good, because it may not be. It may not be.
Yeah. Wow. We have discussed like so much in this moment, honey. I feel like it became family. So when you come to DC, let's get some crabs.
Let's get some. Yes, I'm allergic to shellfish, but I'll get everything. That's okay. I'll get the French fries. They got French fries there. They got all the other stuff.
Get you some. You know what? We'll get salmon. I love any type of seafood.
There we go. There we
go. We don't want you to get sick, but honey, let's do it. I just love that we were able to have the space for this conversation.
Thank you.
And I'm going to get this book, The Game of Life, and I'm going to book her for an interview as well, because I just think we still need to continuously hear these type of conversations.
Yes.
And just know what knowledge everyone has that space to talk about this.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Well, I am here at any time that you need me to come back on. I would love to. And like I said, call Dacia. And I just want to honor you. I just want to honor what you're doing. I want to honor that you are in purpose, that you are working with the White Dress Project, that you have this podcast to continue these conversations. Honor your sonogram that's coming up. And I just want to let you know that I'm spiritually holding your hand right next to your daddy. I'm spiritually holding your hand right there.
Thank you.
And continue to do the work that brings your heart at peace with all of the things. Because when we do that, we really hear God. And we really hear the direction and the next step that we're supposed to take. Because, and I believe this, and I'm just going to say it to you, if your desire is to be a mother, God has a baby for you.
Thank you so much for that. I love it. Period.
Yes. He cannot fail you, and he does not lie.
He doesn't.
He does not lie, and he cannot fail.
Yeah.
He has a baby for me. How, when, who, where, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know that it's God.
It sure is. It
That
is.
it's God. So I'm with you, sis. And thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you. Well, before you leave, can you please tell my audience how they can follow you and they can listen to Warrior Wednesdays?
Yes, y'all. So you can follow me on Instagram at KStew, KSTEW 222. And you can watch Warrior Wednesdays there on the IG Live, or you can go to the website, which is www.warrior-wednesdays.com. And all of the episodes are there. I upload them and have a lot of fun. And there's a blog site there, and you can upload a 2-minute testimonial and tell me about yourself and all of those things. So warrior-wednesdays.com, and please watch as many as you can because they're all informative. Grab some tissues, grab a pencil and paper, and just know that you're really going to come away from each episode full with God's grace and a lot of information. So, and I'm going to continue to do them.
Yes. Well, thank you, audience, for listening to this episode of Tea Time with Monica. If you have questions after this, please feel free to reach out to me or contact Kellee. Get your questions answered. Know that you're not alone. This is something near and dear to my heart, so I had to touch on this on Tea Time. So, loves, I love you. Keep listening and have a great day. Thank you.